What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to Let's Build the U.S.S. Voyager Season 1, Episode 15. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we've got about an 18-minute episode. We're going to be picking up right where we left off in Episode 14. And I'm going to show you guys just how I layered in and filled in the gap right here, just in case anybody needs help with it, and then we'll be moving on to filling in some of the upper section of the lower hull and then back up to the saucer. Now again, just to recap, all I'm doing here is I'm just going right up to my cut line. We're not going to be building anything over our cut line. So if you're doing that and you're trying to have something as close to what I have as possible, you need to make sure that you're minding your cut on this section of the ship. But what I'm doing here is pretty cut and dry, straightforward, just following our cut line with our pattern. And as long as you do that, no mistakes can happen. That's why, like I say, if you do make a mistake with something like this, go back and check your work. Go down the steps that we just went over. Chances are you'll find your mistake without even needing help. This is one of the things that I do all the time. I go back and I check my work. I may not always catch it right in that specific recording, but again, I've only got so much time to work with you guys, so I'm only able to put out so much content in each episode. Now, with that being said, I'm still working on it. I'm trying to get out as much as I can in every single episode, and trying to really maximize each episode and doing them in the shortest amount of time possible, if that makes sense. But this is going to be a trial and error thing, It's just going to be something that I learn as I go as far as doing these. And I feel like I learn something new with every single build series that I do. But I'm pretty happy overall with how Voyager's coming out. So we've got our last couple of rows here that we got to fill in. That's looking pretty good. You can see we've got a nice chunk of area to work with here, where we'll be able to fill in our lower hull if we end up doing a Season 2. Those of you that want to see Season 2, you need to go on the YouTube and click on the community tabs. This way you can vote. I have a poll going on right now asking people if they want to see a second season of Voyager that'll focus on building the interior of the ship, as well as some loose ends exterior parts that I didn't get a chance to do in Season 1. Yeah, we've got a nice chunk of area to work with here. We'll have just enough room to do everything that we need to do without having to really make any compromises. Now we're going to start to fill in the top part of our lower hull. Now I'm going to be honest with you, some of this we're going to be making some adjustments to, because the hard thing that we're going to have with this is blending it all in. Now this line that I'm going up to right here, we're going to fill all this in between. We're going to fill all that in for that row there. So like I said, I feel like I learned something with every build, and if I had gone back after the fact and built another Intrepid class ship, what I would have done differently the second go around is that I would have figured out a way to have my template on the wireframe for the lower hull matching the template for the backbone of the neck. This way I would have had a little bit of a better blending between the lower hull, the neck, and the saucer. It's not bad, all things considered, and if you haven't seen it, check out my tour episode. I show you guys what the finished ship looks like, but that was like the one area where like it didn't come out 100% what I wanted. I think I got it like 98%, and yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things I wasn't 100% happy with it. So now we're going to transition upward after that row that we filled in, and we're going to do 4 cuts going with our cut line, and then going straight across to the other side, and then we're going to fill that in. Alright, now we're going to shift gears over to our neck, or excuse me, to the top part of our saucer, and we're going to be making an adjustment to the shelf that the bridge is going to sit on. And I want to rewind so you guys can get your placement here, because basically we're going to start working on fixing how far out this is bowed out. And I'm thinking what I want to try to do first is our 2 points here and here. We're going to do red line on each and bring that going straight back to try to cut how far it's bowing out on the sides. What we're ultimately going to have to do here is we're going to have to go back to the pixel circle generator. I'm going to I'm going to enter in my dimensions to get a new template, and then I'm going to enter that in to get my front squared away. But then we also need to figure out the sides. So this is going to be something we're going to make a couple of adjustments to it, but we're actually not that far off from where we need to be. This is a really good exercise because it shows you the troubleshooting that I go through on this to try to figure it out, basically, because I'm again looking at my reference material, I'm looking at my pictures and my 3D model, and I'm comparing the two areas, and I can see that right there one of the issues is that it's too fat on the sides and that the front doesn't match what it should be. So what we're going to do, we're going to get rid of the gray line, everything basically in between this red outline that we just added for this red builder line. Because what we're doing is we're more or less just slightly redesigning this. So now we're going to replace the red with the gray concrete, bring that all the way back, do the same thing on the other side. After we do this modification, we're not quite going to be there, but we're going to be closer than what we were, because really right now where we're at, and we haven't gotten a chance to really mess with the very top of the saucer, not counting the bridge shelf, really the piece right in front of it. These are the two areas that we're going to be spending a little bit of time with getting the blending of it right. Because from a top-down view, the blending on the hull itself doesn't look bad. Actually looks pretty good. The problem I have with it where it's at right now is that when you start to look at it from the side, that area just doesn't look right. And this is why, again, I say it's so important to have the reference material to go off of, because that's basically your gauge to help you to see if what you're building is right or if you have to make an adjustment to it. This is one of the reasons why my builds come out the way that they do, because I go off of my reference material and I just keep working the shape that I have until it comes out in a way that I'm happy with it. This is why I kind of a good analogy to compare the building with the blocks on Minecraft. It's not dissimilar to working with clay, because you're just manipulating the shape until you get a shape that you want. Even though it's apples and oranges as far as the medium, whether it's blocks or clay, the idea itself is still actually the same. And see, all these changes that we're doing right now, not having to think too hard. I'm getting rid of this old gray line, and our template is actually already there between the white concrete and then the quartz. We're just going to basically just put back our pattern. We're probably going to have to get rid of some of those half slabs That's okay, we can make an adjustment to that. You see I'm well, no, we're going to leave the half slabs, excuse me. We're going to do the quartz going right behind it. Because what I meant to say is that we want to make sure that we're leaving our template there for the hull itself. We're only making an adjustment to the shelf that the bridge is sitting on, and basically what we're doing is repairing our template, so this way it doesn't look like we just made a change. Alright, so that looks pretty good, and we're going to repeat that same process on the left side now. Remember, just following our pattern. Now we're going to fill this in, looking pretty good. Alright, doesn't look too bad. It's looking better. It's getting in the direction that it needs to go in, but we're not quite there yet. Basically what's happened now is we've kind of fixed the issue with the thickness, but now the problem that we have is the front is way too flat. So it's just going to be one of those things we're going to have to make a couple more adjustments to this shelf before we land where we need to land on this. Now what I wanted to try was adding in another layer going with a cut line, but it's not going to fix the problem. Because this is why I say your wireframe template is so important. Getting that shape established early on, because that's going to make it or break it with your build. And basically what's going to happen here is that because the template itself doesn't look right, everything that I'm going to be adding right here, it's not going to look right either. So this is why I say it's so important. Take the time with your wireframe outline. But if you're in a situation like this, where let's say that you do take the time and it's still not coming out the way that you want it, that's okay. We're troubleshoot it, and we're going to try out different things until we land where we want to land. This is why I say it's always a good idea when you're making changes like this to make multiple saves. This way, if going through your troubleshooting and trying out different things, if you do something that just comes out terrible and you don't like it, you can just revert back to that old save without trying to remember exactly what you did and rebuilding it. It's very, very helpful. We're going to finish this row up and take a look to see what we're working with. But no, even this step, what we're doing in itself it's vital to the build, because going through this trial and error period, it really helps you to go in the direction that you need to go into to help you land where you need to land, more or less. And now we're going to be taking off just the back side of this extra row of gray, which was technically the first row, just in the back, because I'm trying to keep the template intact and having that blending point. One of the things with Voyager that you're really going to notice, I talk about it a little bit in the tour episode, but not as, I meant to talk about it more, but the color on Voyager. You guys are going to notice that with my version of Voyager, she's just not a flat gray. She has white as her primary color, and then I've got a few more highlighted colors in with like grays and things like that. My main reason for wanting to do that is that I wanted to, I didn't want to build the ship out and it looked plain, more or less. I always try to find small details in a ship, whether that being whatever I can find, whether that's reference material from a show or movie, models, toys, you'd be surprised with where you can find your details. So that's one of the things I do when I'm looking for my reference material. I don't stick to anything. I just look to see what I can find, and I look at the little details and things that I like, and you'd be surprised. Sometimes you might find a picture of like a toy of Voyager, for example, but maybe it has some detail in an area that you look at and you're like, ooh, like that looks really good. I can incorporate that into the ship to bring it out a little bit more. That was one of the things I did with the shelf that the bridge sits on, that I wanted to add in that gray to just give it a little bit of oomph to help it differentiate itself from the rest of the ship. So now we're going to be shifting gears. We're working on our layering for our saucer. I can already tell you guys, a lot of this, what we're doing right now at the very, very top of this, we're going to be backtracking and taking off some of this. We really, like I said, it doesn't look bad from the top. It looks good. The issue that I have with the template in place right now is that when you zoom down and look at it from the side, it does not look right. So we are going to have to make some adjustments to this. But the unique thing with Voyager that will be different from some of my other builds is that with the top part of the saucer, we have to blend that in to the shelf that the bridge sits on. Just like what we're doing right now with our build process for the lower section of the ship, where we're building out our lower hull, we're also building out our backbone, and then we have to blend that in with the saucer. So it's like three things that kind of have to fall together in place to really make it work. And in this case, it's two things. It's our shelf that our bridge sits on that's connected to the backbone, and then the actual hull itself for the top of the saucer. So no, I was wrong. Actually, three pieces of things that we kind of have to blend together. But this is going to be, it's good experience to have, believe it or not, because those of you that are looking to build like a Sovereign class, for example, Voyager is a great, I feel, starter ship to get into something like that. Because a lot of the stuff, what we're doing now with Voyager, you should be able to apply this to a Sovereign class ship. Because you're doing a lot of, it's not the same, but it's going to be similar. Where if you look at the blending on the saucer, it's not going to be dissimilar to Voyager. The Sovereign had, I mean, pretty much like the backbone on the Sovereign is almost non-existent. It's almost like the saucer and then the lower hull just kind of are meshed together. There is like a subtle piece that's there, but it's not very much. But still, like that blending of the two, it's something that you can definitely take away from this tutorial and apply it to that class of ship and any other ship that might happen to look like it. So you can see I'm not doing anything fancy here. I'm just continuing on the same pattern that we've been working with as far as our layering for our hull. And from the top she looks great, but when we zoom out, like, I don't like that in the front. It doesn't arch back like it's supposed to. It's bowed out way too much up in this area here. So we're going to have to make changes to that. It's not looking too bad. Definitely have some things to figure out, though. We are going to get it. In the next couple of episodes, we'll get that knocked out, blending in the top of the saucer, and then also the shelf that the bridge sits on, and then the backbone and the neck and everything else. Like I said, sometimes it's just a trial and error period. See, like looking at it from that angle actually looks great. Does not look bad, but it's when we get to that side view that I'm not feeling it at all. But from the top, I mean that'll work. But we've got some work to do. We've gotten a little bit done today, but I think that's going to wrap us up. for today's episode, and I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode. If you did enjoy this content, please help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. We've got some cool stuff coming up in the future. I've got the Excelsior 2 class. That's going to be the next Let's Build. That's going to be following Voyager. We've also got the Enterprise D Season 2 in the works, as well as the Enterprise A 1.1. That'll be starting once we hit 1,000 subscribers. I've also got another mini build that I'm going to be working on, the Razor Crest from the Mandalorian. I'm excited about that. If there's any small ship build ideas that you guys have, drop a comment below. I need ideas. And in fact, it doesn't actually have to be a ship. It can be any type of small build, anything at all. As long as it's nerd related or has some type of pop culture reference to it, I'd be open to it. So definitely let me know in the comments section. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for me today. I just want to thank you all again, and I hope everybody has a happy and safe week. And of course, what did you make in Minecraft today? Let me know in the comments section.